They did not hurt you because you were weak. They hurt you because you became strong enough to see right through them. There is a massive misconception floating around that narcissists only prey on fragile, broken individuals who cannot stand on their own 2 feet. People assume these emotional predators seek out victims who are easy to manipulate because they are already down. But in absolute reality, the exact opposite is true. Narcissists actively hunt for high-value targets. They look for people equipped with high emotional intelligence, deep personal resilience, and a wonderfully solid sense of self. At the very beginning of the relationship, your stability, your inner light, and your complete independence were what drew them to you like a magnet. Being near your grounded energy made them feel secure, important, and elevated simply by being associated with you. They genuinely admired your honesty, your deep empathy, and the fact that you did not constantly need validation from the outside world to know your own worth. They looked at your confidence and your inner peace, and they wanted to wrap themselves in it because they completely lacked those qualities within their own empty internal worlds. They studied your traits, matched your energy, and love-bombed you because your authenticity felt like the ultimate, most prized possession they could ever hope to capture. However, that initial admiration quickly rots into a toxic, hidden resentment that ultimately poisons the entire dynamic. The very traits that made them fall for you in the first place become the exact same traits they grow to despise. Why? Because a narcissist operates entirely on a foundation of control, fake superiority, and manipulation. As long as you were shining a light on them while keeping your eyes closed to their flaws, everything felt fine in their distorted reality. The moment they realized your inner strength was too powerful to break, and that they could no longer control your mind, your emotions, or your identity, everything shifted overnight. Their ultimate goal stopped being about winning your love, your affection, or your partnership. Instead, it shifted entirely toward wanting your absolute destruction. They became obsessed with breaking your spirit, simply because they could not cope with the terrifying truth that their usual, tried-and-true mind games no longer worked on someone as grounded as you. Your authenticity and clear perception naturally exposed the massive, undeniable gap between their fake public image and their deep, painful inner insecurity. Every single day, a narcissist puts an immense amount of exhausting energy into maintaining an elaborate illusion. They want the world, and they want you, to believe they are completely flawless, endlessly confident, and utterly untouchable. They construct this elaborate mask not out of genuine self-love, but out of a desperate, terrifying need to hide the hollow, broken reality they feel inside. But when you entered the picture with your genuine emotional depth, your grounded confidence, and your crystal clear perception, that fragile illusion was instantly put on notice. Because you see things as they truly are, your very presence acted as an unblinking, permanent mirror. You did not even have to point out their flaws or challenge them aggressively. Simply by living your life with honesty and self-respect, you highlighted the stark contrast between who they pretended to be and who they actually were. Your emotional intelligence meant you could instantly spot the glaring contradictions in their stories, the shifting goalposts, and the subtle manipulations they used on everyone else. When you started taking tangible action, setting healthy boundaries, questioning their obvious lies, and completely refusing to beg for their approval or play their exhausting games, the dynamic changed forever. In a healthy, mature relationship, these actions are welcomed as normal, constructive behavior that builds trust and mutual respect. But a narcissist does not know what a healthy relationship looks like. They looked at your clarity, your boundaries, and your unwillingness to compromise your self-worth, and they did not see a partner trying to improve the connection. Instead, they viewed your clarity as a terrifying, direct, and aggressive threat to the fragile mask they desperately wear just to survive each day. Because you were strong, stable, and completely authentic, you became a living, breathing reflection of all the things they hated about themselves. You mirrored their hidden weakness, their deep-seated shame, and their pathetic lack of true character back to them without even trying. Faced with that brutal psychological reflection, a normal, emotionally mature person might take a deep breath, look inward, and decide to work on themselves, heal their wounds, and grow. But a narcissist completely lacks the emotional maturity, the self-awareness, and the internal fortitude to handle that heavy wave of self-reproach. Sitting with their own shame is entirely impossible for their fragile ego to endure. So rather than doing the hard, uncomfortable work of fixing themselves, their distorted mind instantly jumps to a much more destructive conclusion. They decide that if they cannot fix the reflection, they have to shatter the mirror entirely. And in this toxic dynamic, you are that mirror. Their desperate attempt to break you, tear down your confidence, and destroy your peace is nothing more than a frantic, malicious effort to smash the mirror so they never have to look at their own deep ugliness again. To a narcissist, losing control over how you perceive them feels like a deeply humiliating existential threat. Their entire psychological survival depends on managing your perception, ensuring you view them as superior, flawless, and completely in charge. The moment you stand firm in your truth and refuse to buy into their illusions, you shatter that carefully manufactured safety net. This sudden loss of control instantly triggers their deepest, most terrifying fears of inadequacy, rejection, and absolute insignificance. Because they completely lack the emotional maturity to process or sit with that heavy internal panic, their instinctual reaction is immediate and aggressive. They feel an urgent, desperate need to bring you down just so they can feel big, powerful, and safe again. This is where their calculated cruelty comes into play. They will deliberately mock your confidence, dismiss your gut feelings as mere paranoia, turn ice cold without any explanation, and purposefully manufacture intense, chaotic situations out of thin air. They throw every weapon in their arsenal at you, simply to make you doubt your own sanity, your memory, and your judgment. They want to wear you down until you are completely disoriented. If they can successfully push you to the point where you emotionally collapse, cry in frustration, apologize for things you did not do, or second-guess your own perception of reality, they instantly feel a massive rush of relief. They use your confusion and your emotional distress as a literal psychological drug to stabilize their utterly unstable, hollow ego. When you hurt, they temporarily feel powerful. In a healthy relationship, boundaries are nothing more than a basic sign of self-respect and mutual care. But to a narcissist, a boundary is treated as a direct, unforgivable act of war. They operate under the distorted belief that they have an absolute right to unrestricted access to your time, your thoughts, your energy, and your life. When you draw a clear line in the sand and simply say no, you instantly shatter their core belief that they completely own you and the entire relationship dynamic. This is precisely why even the most polite, reasonable, and gently phrased requests for a little bit of personal space, basic honesty, or simple accountability will trigger a massive, completely disproportionate overreaction. When you place a restriction on how they are allowed to treat you, they do not see a partner protecting their peace. They view your boundary as a direct, deeply hurtful personal rejection and flat-out disobedience against their authority. To protect their fragile ego from that perceived insult, they will instantly shift gears into attack mode. They might explode with terrifying rage, flip the script to punish you with days of silent treatment, or lay on heavy, manipulative guilt trips designed to make you feel bad just for speaking up. The underlying issue is never actually about whatever specific rule or boundary you tried to set. The real issue is that your healthy boundary aggressively forces equality, fairness, and mutual respect into a dynamic that the narcissist specifically built from the ground up to be entirely imbalanced. They are completely incapable of functioning in a real, equal partnership. They can only survive when they hold all the cards, all the power, and absolute control over your world. A narcissist treats a relationship like an arena designed entirely for ego stroking and psychological dominance. In a genuinely healthy relationship, love is built on a solid foundation of mutual empathy, emotional safety, vulnerability, and a deep, unwavering respect for each other's individuality. But for a narcissistic person, a relationship is never a safe haven where you can let your guard down. Instead, it is a battlefield built exclusively to serve their ego, feed their vanity, and maintain total psychological dominance over your world. Because their core motivation is to constantly prop up their fragile self-image, you will quickly notice that their affection, their smiles, and their warmth are never given freely. Instead, their love is entirely conditional, acting like a transaction where you only receive kindness when you strictly play the exact role they have assigned to you. As long as you are actively building them up, agreeing with everything they say, swallowing your own opinions, and completely ignoring your own needs just to reinforce their superior self-image, they will treat you like royalty. They will shower you with praise and make you feel like you are the most important person in the world. But the exact second you step out of line, express an independent thought, or dare to stand up for yourself, they will instantly flip a mental switch. They replace their warmth with brutal emotional punishment, cold silence, and harsh criticism. This rapid, whiplash-inducing back and forth is precisely why the dynamic becomes so overwhelmingly confusing and deeply damaging to your psyche. Those brief, beautiful moments of intense affection, sweetness, and romance feel completely real to you while you are experiencing them, leaving you clinging to the hope that the real them has finally returned. In cold reality, those sweet moments are not real love at all. They are calculated, highly effective tools used deliberately to hook you and pull you right back into their toxic orbit whenever they feel you slipping away. Whenever your intuition tells you to pull back and your emotional distance threatens their control, they instantly turn the charm back on, just enough to keep you chasing that initial high of their approval. Eventually, the painful truth clicks into place in your mind. You realize that you have completely stopped being treated like a human partner with your own feelings, and you have simply been reduced to an object used to regulate their deeply unstable, fragile emotions. The single hardest truth to accept on this entire exhausting journey is realizing that they never attacked you because you lacked value, worth, or importance. In fact, the absolute opposite is true. They attacked you because your inner light was so incredibly bright, pure, and authentic that it naturally exposed the deep, hidden darkness they spend their entire lives running from. Your strong boundaries aggressively challenge their unearned authority over your life. Your natural independence completely threatened their toxic need for constant influence and control. Your emotional clarity acted like a blazing spotlight, forcing them to look directly at the terrifying empty space hiding right behind the fake mask they wear for the world. They didn't see flaws in you. They saw a level of wholeness, truth, and self-worth that they desperately wanted for themselves, but knew they could never genuinely possess. Your mere existence was a constant, painful reminder of everything they lacked. So, their only solution was to try and dim your light, to make their own inner darkness feel less noticeable. Real, authentic strength is not about learning how to beat a narcissist at their own twisted mind games. Nor is it about getting revenge, arguing your point, or trying to match their toxicity. Real strength is about completely removing yourself from the board and refusing to lose your mind, your peace, and your identity while trying to force a healthy connection with someone who is psychologically incapable of giving or receiving real love. From this moment forward, you must actively choose clarity over confusion and radical self-respect over mere emotional survival. You have to stop playing the role of their emotional punching bag just to keep a fake, fragile peace in a toxic environment. The ultimate victory over a narcissist will never come from making them finally realize, admit, or understand what they did to you. Because a person wearing a permanent mask will never confess to the lie, and they are never going to give you the closure or the sincere apology you deserve. Instead, the ultimate, undeniable victory is knowing your own worth so deeply, so completely, and so unshakably that their chaotic attempts to confuse, hurt, or destroy you simply no longer work. When you finally reach the point where their words can no longer shift your reality, their silence can no longer cause you anxiety, and their manipulation falls completely flat, you have won. You win by taking your power back, reclaiming your life, and stepping into a level of inner peace that no toxic person can ever touch or take away from you again.